Okay, so this would be a feedback slash critique for. Oh, it's covering. I think it was ConnieFur. Yeah. ConnieFur. Yeah. Okay. Uh, I don't think we've ever talked, or you've. I don't think I've ever done feedback for you. My name is. Oh, that's weird. That's funny. I was about to say my real name. On Discord, you might see me as Captain Marvel or Shazam. Uh, just quick disclaimers out of the way. I am by no means a professional at this game, right? I am just someone who likes Tekken and I like Feng. And I like Bryan. I'm not necessarily a Bryan player. Character's cool though. Core Circle 4-3 might be one of, or Core Circle Back 3 might be one of the most satisfying lows ever created in this game. But I've played a lot of Tekken, I played a lot of Feng, played a lot against Feng, played a little bit of against Bryan. And based on those experiences, I'm simply giving you my feedback and my 2 cents, right? I'm simply saying, based on everything that I've experienced in Tekken, here are areas that I think you can use improvement on. And it is by no means gospel, right? All it is my 2 cents, some food for thought, take it as you will, right? Take it with a grain of salt, but take it into consideration, because at the end of the day, I am just giving you, my first impressions, right? That being said, I don't think there's that much else to cover, so let's just get right into it. Oh, I gotta lower the volume on this. Oh. Okay, so you just ate Corsical Back 3. So you just ate a hatchet kick. I mean, okay, so you just ate a hatchet kick. I'm not sure if you guys. I see the number of wins by the Bryan, but I'm not sure if this is your guys' like first match or sixth match, right? But I'm just gonna assume that this is the first match, and I'm just gonna give you my 2 cents based on just this first impression. You just blocked a hatchet kick, or you just ate a hatchet kick, and the immediate response is to down back 3, and I'm not sure why, right? It is reasonable to assume that they'll likely try to jab check you after it. But it is just as reasonable to assume, well, the Bryan is +4. He has a lot more moves that can beat out what you're trying to do besides just a jab, right? If he was like +1, it's like, yeah, okay. He's most likely gonna jab to try and to see if I'm gonna press anything. But he's +4, right? He can do. Wait, is it? Did that get buffed? Hatchet kick. Holy shit, that's right, I got buffed. So Bryan hatchet kick is now +5 minimum, right? Later, if it hits later, +6, whatever. And it's like, okay, yeah, you can think that he's gonna jab, but like he's +5, he's gonna go. I can press whatever the fuck I want up to 15 frames, right? And it'll either beat or at worst trade with the jab, right? So I think immediately going for down back 3, right, on your end was a weird call. It feels more likely like first you gotta first confirm what is it this Bryan likes to do after hatchet kick, right? Is it something slow? Is it something I can crush? And if it's neither of those things, you just wait, right? Because he's getting a 5-frame head start on you, right? And down back 3 is good, but it's not going to beat 15 frames when the opponent's +5, right? So that's the thing, stuff to consider, is that before immediately going in for down back 3, just first gain more information on your opponent before committing to any option. Excuse me. Oh, that's right. Okay. Nice. Well, maybe the volume's too low. Oh. Okay, so this happens a lot, kinda, where I'm not sure. Okay, You got to run that by me a little bit. What exactly was the reasoning behind just the YOLO like 4-3-4? Did he duck? I didn't see anything. I don't know. You kind of do this a lot where you're just kind of like, all right, I've moved around a bit. I think the opponent's gonna rush in. Let me do 4-3-4, and it's not like the worst thing to do, given that the Bryan is pretty aggressive. He does seem to like to press his buttons, but it just feels like you're taking on way too much risk for, you know, granted a pretty high reward, right? Of like, oh, you get to launch the opponent, but the issue with the risk isn't necessarily the risk reward comparison, right? Because you're getting a lot of reward. It works out. It's just unnecessary risk for you to be taking, right? This works out fine, right? You get a oh, he does duck, but I feel like that's way like there's no way you had a Twitch reaction to him ducking and then immediately doing 4-3-4, or maybe it's something based off the previous matches you had with the guy. I just think okay. Again, I'm gonna assume that this is the first match. If it's not, ignore what I say. First, you condition him with something like down back 3 at ranges, corsical forward 1, etc., and that he expects you, that if he sees forward movement, he's going to be expecting low. And then you do stuff like 4-3-4. But honestly, even then, I'm just kind of like, I don't know, just do corsical forward 1+2, right? Leave 4-3-4 for like the really hard callouts or just whiff punishing. Because it's way too risky to just to rely on 4-3-4 as your primary mix-up, right? It's way too easy, given how slow the move is, for the opponent to just fuzzy or just flash duck you, and then they just block, right? I think if the move were a tad bit faster, sure, but as it stands right now, I think you're overcommitting to a mix-up you don't need to. So what happens here? You already committed to exiting back here. That's fine. Good combo. Okay, so you do this again. So I'm not gonna say anything on this one, but oh wait, Lomel, is Bryan's wall standing 216 frames? Can you actually not punish it? Does he not have a crouching launcher wall standing 3? No. Yeah, Bryan's wall standing 1 is a launch. Yeah, why didn't he just do that? What the hell? Or maybe that is Bryan's wall standing 1. Why isn't there a GIF? Whatever. Weird. I don't know why I didn't launch you. Yeah, you should have died, right? Okay, so you should have died. He should have died here, right? Like right here. Yeah, Bryan 3+4 is fucking annoying. I get that. Down forward 1-3. Is it down forward 2-3? Okay, yeah. So in this situation, down forward 3+4, right? Because that's the move he finishes the string with. In this situation, canceled from a string, canceled from down forward 2, that move has 0 pushback, right? You don't have to worry about 3+4 suddenly being like, oh, let me risk shoulder, right? There's no risk here. There's no pushback when he finishes the down forward 2-3 string, and you should have just shouldered him for the easy win. But I'm not gonna harp on punishment too much. At the end of the day, punishment is something you just gotta solve yourself. Look up a punish guide, start learning strings, and start optimizing your punishes. I don't think there's too much that you don't leave out damage on the table. The problem is not necessarily you missing out on the punish, it's the crucial timing of it, right? He gets to live an extra few seconds in a game like Tekken 7 where every extra second could mean death for you. And so you definitely got to optimize the punishes here. But let's continue. So I don't understand the whiff punish with down back 3. Right? I'm not sure if you utilize it as a primary whiff punishment tool, but what I'm seeing is the opponent whiffs, so you just do down back 3. Or maybe you were just, whatever he moves with, I'm just going to press down back 3 after. And it's like, okay, I mean, it works, kind of. The first time it didn't, but you should have just done, like, your primary whiff punishment should be down forward 4-3, right? Because doing down back 3 is fine. It's like an okay whiff punisher for those situations where, let's say the opponent whiffs a button and they just hold back, like they're stand blocking. Yeah, sure, down back 3 gets some free chip damage in. But in a clear situation where you have an opportunity to whiff punish, maybe not slow enough for forward 3-4, but fast enough for something like down forward 4-3 will work out, right? You choose the down forward 4-3 because you're left with the frame advantages at standing. You're left with heavily more frame advantage than down back 3. You're not in forced crouch like down back 3 leaves you in, right? You get a lot more room and options to work with here than just, all right, you press down back 3 and now you're crouched and have advantage, sure, but there's not much that you can really do, right, from crouch. Feng is not exactly known for his scary full crouch mix-up, right? From standing, there's a lot of crazy stuff, right? If they press a button, you just down back 3 them into easy to free 40 damage or some shit. How much is a counter hit throw? Well, what's the counter hit damage? Whatever. Anyway, it's a lot of damage, but you get what I'm saying. Is that kind of like brush up on your whiff punishment? It's, again, optimizing the punishment. I'm not going to try and harp on too much, but it's just kind of like you're leaving a lot of damage out on the table. And down back 3, even as a damage, right? The damage is kind of ass. 12 damage is nothing, right? It is a lot of things given everything else the move already does. Like, the move's really fucking good. Probably one of the best lows in the game, right? Yeah, I get Fangs have depression about down back 3 and shit because there's a bunch of other broken ass lows in this game. But like, down back 3 is a fucking amazing low. Damage wise, it's whatever, right? Compared to something like down forward 4-3 when it comes to whiff punishing. Again, why the maybe you're expecting hatchet. It's not the worst thing to do. But if you're expecting hatchet, why not just hop kick? Right, why the up forward 3 there? Because if you hop kicked, you would have just immediately cleanly beat out back 1. I guess I'm just not sure on the reasoning here, but I also don't think that it's that big of a deal to like talk about it for that long. This is like the 4th time that he's pressed this string, and you just, it seems like, I don't know, whatever it is, I'm not sure what's going on your end because I'm not seeing any inputs or anything, but you're way too antsy on defense, right? The Bryan is clearly not finishing. Whenever he presses stuff, he's pressing a lot of things at once, and you need to either brush up on your knowledge about where the gaps are so you can start punishing them, or you just need to slow down because you're clearly trying to press buttons when you shouldn't, and it's just getting you killed, right? That was a whack combo. He gave up on wall standing 1. So like right here, right, you do forward 3 for what reason? You can't hit confirm forward 3-4. You can arguably twitch confirm it. The move's not hit confirmable, right? Your opponent's back is to the wall, and you need to do something to create your situations. Oh wait, why are you pressing back 4 after? Oh. Huh, -3 is not that bad. Still, it's like, okay, your opponent's back is to the wall. What can you be doing to really put on pressure on the opponent? And this is when you should start doing core circle forward 1, core circle forward 1+2, forward 2, or something to try and like, all right, you got to start pressing buttons at some point, right? Or if you want to poke, you do something like down forward 4, right? Down forward 4 leaves you in a much worse position, sure, right? -6, right? You can't move away, but given how far the move reaches, right? And you're not advancing, you're literally just throwing out your leg, and the Bryan's just going to block. You have more room to kind of test the reactions of your opponent and test what they like to do and give yourself more information to work with versus committing to forward 3 and now you're at -3 in front of the Bryan. Not the worst thing to do, but you're also not necessarily advancing. Like, if the Bryan presses a button, he's more likely to hit you when you use forward 3 than you use down forward 4 because of the range that the moves leave you at when they're blocked, right? But nah, it's not. Again, it's not like the worst thing. I would much prefer something like just start doing core circle for 1+2. Just start putting pressure on him and incentivize the Bryan to try and challenge your pressure. Oh, whoops. Nice. Unfortunate. Yeah, that's kind of whatever. Well. Oh. Nice. Guarantee the death, and we're good to go. Okay. So by this point, this Bryan has a habit of, I'm going to press a bunch of stuff and then just block low, right? So in those situations, after facing this type of opponent, I think you just forego the 1+4. Like, don't use that move. I think I like 1+4 a lot. It's very, it's an unseeable low high into free frame advantage, free damage, right? It's also a stagger block, right? And Bryan just shits out damage. And I just don't think that this is a move you want to be using. You want to use down back 3 because the move is very long range and incentivizes your opponent to not sidestep. That's different, right? But when you're just trying to use a low to use, don't use, a stagger block low that doesn't offer that much crazy advantage in regards to it being a literal stagger block, right? It's not worth it. You only use the move like once, but it's just something that popped up in my head. Rip, right? And so that's the other thing, right? Why are you advancing with forward 3 when the Bryan has clearly shown that he's just willing to throw buttons out at you, right? Okay. Oh man, there's so much stuff. So, okay, let's look at it from this situation. You block the move, the Bryan whiffs something, and now you have the life lead. What reason do you have to go in? Why would you want to go in? What's the point? This is a Bryan that has shown that he's clearly willing to throw out as many moves as he wants and just keep slamming you as much as he can, right? His goal is to just keep pressing buttons, and if he whiffs or if they get blocked, whatever, just block low, right? Against an opponent like that, what are you trying to achieve by trying to move forward with something like forward 3, right, which is very slow? Instead, you have to pump the brakes on your end. You don't need to advance, 1, when you have the life lead because the opponent is already incentivized to try and approach you, and 2, when the opponent has clearly shown it doesn't matter what the situation is, they're just going to be very aggressive, right? So you hang back a little bit, let him if you miss the whiff punish here, perfectly understandable, right? It's a fast whiff. Where's the right? Like right here, it's a fast whiff move. It's hard to be like, all right, I'm gonna get the whiff punish here. Here you go, okay, he whiffed something, I wasn't able to get it, we'll get him next time, Chief. Because you know this Bryan's gonna throw something else out. Right? And actually, maybe you were going for the whiff punish. You thought you could get there in time. Maybe. still, it goes back into, okay, option A, you were too slow in the whiff punish and then tried to advance for whatever reason. One, when you have the life lead, don't do it. If you have the life lead, just run out the clock. Obviously, don't run away your opponent. But if your opponent refuses to approach you, you just stand there. You have the life lead, right? If the clock runs down to 0, you win the round. You have no reason to, like, Feng's approach is whatever, right? He has some neat tools, like if you can start doing instant while standing 1, more power to you, right? But a lot of times, Feng approaches, the opponent sidesteps left, and then the Feng cries. Instead, if you have the life lead, you just hang back, you let the opponent approach you, and then you can use all of Feng's get out of jail free options, right? Up forward 2, back 1, Kenpo, etc., etc., etc. You can use all of these options, and the opponent having to chase you down is much easier in life for Feng than it is for Feng to chase an opponent down, right? So that's option A, if you were just trying to advance on your opponent for no reason. Option B, you fucked up on the whiff punish, you thought you could get there in time, and you press forward 3-4. Or something. I don't know. At that point, I just, switch your whiff punishment. Like your baseline whiff punish should just be down forward 4-3, right? Very minimal risk involved. Very less likely to fuck up any timing because it's a 15 frame move versus a 21 frame move, right? So it's just kind of like, yeah, why would you bother? Unfortunate drop. That should be a shoulder. And then you die. I guess. What? Let's just keep going. Okay. There's a plane overhead. That's kind of annoying. Or helicopter. I know what a plane is, I swear. I'm just gonna let that pass by. It's awkward. Oh well, I'm not a YouTuber, I don't care. Neutral, punishment / matchup knowledge, combo / Oki, personal opinion stuff. Neutral. Your neutral was just overall too commitment heavy, right? When there was an opportunity for a mix-up, a whiff punish, and everything, you always chose kind of like these explosive or notable options that Feng has. But the problem is that, yes, the moves you chose to use are good. I'm not saying they're bad, but the timing at which you chose to use them just gets you killed more often than anything. For every occasional kind of like, oh, you got a big launch with forward 3-4, you could just easily achieve similar, more consistent results with just whiff punish with down forward 4-3. Oh, you think the opponent is gonna just duck in front of your face? Just do forward 4-2 and get a knockdown or something, right? Because for every situation of like, oh, you launch with forward 3-4, nice. You just press the button again, and then you either get hit out of it or the opponent is just blocking and then they launch you, right? The issue isn't necessarily that you're using the moves at all. The issue is that you're aiming for these kind of like high risk, high reward situations when you don't need to. Always favor more consistent results to just keep chipping out damage, right? Feng's damage got buffed and he has like explosive situations and explosive launchers, sure. But at the end of the day, Feng's going to be, a crazy poking character, and he's going to win by, death by 1,000 cuts, or a lot of his damage is going to be coming from that because you have so many crazy tools that all offer basically near free chip damage, right? Oh, the opponent's sidestepping, down back 3, free chip damage. Oh, the opponent's approaching you, up forward 2, free chip damage, right? All this other stuff. So over relying on these like, oh, let me use down back 3 as a whiff punisher, let me use forward 3-4 as a whiff punisher. It's kind of like, yeah, you can, but you're also just putting yourself at much more risk than you need to for the kind of whatever reward. Like sometimes it works out, but then when it doesn't, you die, right? Other aspects of neutral. Just none of Fang's extra tools, right? The a lot of Fang's strengths is that he has these variety of tools that he can use and constantly force your opponent to deal with the mental stack situation. You do it kind of early on in the first round. You do a lot of like, let me see, where was it? Was it here? One of the rounds you're in the corner and you start doing a lot more like back turn stuff and try to whiff something, right? And that works out fine. But in the standing situation, like right here, wait, is he pressing something? He's pressing something. You can do something like sidestep 2, sidestep 1+2. Start using sidesteps to soften up your opponent, right? Because let's say you do absolutely no sidestep move throughout the round, right? And then at some point you're like, all right, he's not gonna block low. I'm gonna do sidestep 4. Well, the opponent's gonna see at least the beginning of the sidestep, and they don't know exactly what's gonna come from it, but any Feng knowledge, they're just gonna be like, all right, well, I'm just gonna block low, right? But if you instead sprinkle out your usage of sidesteps throughout the match, right, you can start softening up the opponent and conditioning them to be like, hey, I have a lot of moves from sidestep. Don't just expect sidestep 4, right? And if you start using stuff like sidestep 2, you can start conditioning them to figure and start gaining information on your opponent. What do they like to do when your back is turned, right? And how can you abuse that to the best of your advantage? So a lot of stuff that you could be doing. And I'm not saying that you need to use every single move, every single game, but I think you need to start sprinkling them more in, right? If all the opponent is going to be on the lookout for is, I think this dude's going to do down back 3 every now and again, I think he's going to do 4-3-4 now and again. They're not on the lookout for all of Feng's other tools, which is one of Feng's greatest strengths, right? He has a shitload of moves and all of them have varying degrees of usefulness, right? If your opponent is constantly on the lookout for down back 3 and you just keep using down back 3, you're going to get launched, right? But if you instead sprinkle in stuff like down 2 is a fantastic low, right? They'll block it, they'll try to do their wall standing 3 or wall standing 2 punish or wall standing 1, right? And then you'll be scot-free because they're expecting a launch when really you're only just minus 12. And so you need to start and then down 2, right? More than just down back 2-2, right? More than the baby tantrum. Down 2 is a very powerful low with strong counter hit property and good damage, right? In these situations where the opponent is just kind of like maybe approaching with highs, maybe doing all this other stuff, it offers pretty decent utility. Well, but we're going into personal opinion stuff. Anyway, more aspects on neutral. Yeah, just kind of like, and then also this dives into like punishment / match knowledge, but like you don't need to approach or press anything if the opponent's just going to do all the work for you, right? Why are you going to be approaching an opponent who's just throwing themselves at you, right? Why? What do you have to gain, right? Let the opponent throw themselves at you. It's not like Feng. I'm not going to say Feng has like the greatest block punishment game in the world, but whiff punishing and whiff punishment, creating those whiff punishment opportunities, Feng's pretty solid at that, right? Utilizing back kenpo, utilizing back turn, and then escaping with down back, etc. Plenty of opportunities Feng can create for a whiff punish, and his whiff punishment game is pretty good. At that point, you can start using 4-3-4 and all this other stuff, right? So plenty of tools for you to use. And especially more importantly, you have to be challenging your opponent's mental stack. If you let the opponent get comfortable and just never give them a reason to be wary on anything else, they're not going to. So then they're not going to be as susceptible as if you're constantly making them second guess when they can take their turn, when to apply pressure, what they have to block, etc., etc., etc. Punishment / matchup knowledge, right? Matchup knowledge, right? First, we'll talk about the character and then the player. The character. You're pressing way too many buttons against this Bryan, and he's just tossing out every string in existence, and it's just hitting you. You need to slow it down, and you need to be way more consistent with your punishes. Early on, if you miss like a down forward 2-3 punish every now and again, yeah, sure, whatever. By the final round or second to last round, when the guy does like 3 down forward 2-3 strings in a row, and you just don't punish any of them, right? You got to brush up on that matchup knowledge, right? And I think maybe you were trying to see what you can do with, right? You try to like jab him or something, but then you did like back one, and back one isn't a punish, right? So it just, maybe you were experimenting, right? And I don't mean to harp on this too much, but it's just kind of like you left a lot of damage out on the table, right? And then another thing that we need to stress about, like learning the matchup and just learning all these strings and what you can and can't do, is the player aspect. This Bryan just loved to press every string in existence and was just going to keep pressing them until they worked. And it's not like he was ever punished for them, so he never had any incentive to worry about anything else. If you don't adjust to what your opponent is doing, and if you don't have the requisite matchup knowledge to punish them and, make them reconsider their offense, they're never going to, right? The Bryan has no incentives to stop pressing down forward 2-3, because at worst you're just going to block it, and that's it. He's never going to get punished for it. And other times you're going to press into it, and then he gets a free counter hit launch, right? So that's the issue we're facing here, of kind of like your lack of matchup knowledge and your sort of inability to kind of like slow things down on your end, and abuse the over-eagerness, the aggressiveness of your opponent. You just get counter hit out of stuff because you're trying to challenge him when you shouldn't, right? Other aspects of punishment and or matchup knowledge. It's not much. That's whatever. Nothing else comes to mind. It was really just about, you need to brush up on your Bryan knowledge, and you need to be able to punish the certain playstyle of the opponent you're facing. Combos / Oki. Combos were solid, right? Unfortunate drop in one round, but it happens. Whatever. Oki. Not much to say. I don't think you really got that many crazy opportunities for Oki at the wall. Oh no, we talked about it when you did something like forward 3, right? When the Bryan's back is to the wall, but you should be utilizing something like forward 3, because your opponent's back is to the wall, and they're gonna, if they wake up into it, right, and they block it, you get a free +8, right? Obviously, if they're already standing and the opponent's sharp, you don't want to do forward 3 because the move is slow. I get that. But when the opponent has to wake up into forward 3, it's a whole world of difference, right? If they're not tech rolling, if they're not staying on the ground and side rolling a bunch, and honestly, if they're staying on the ground, just do forward 3, who cares, right? The move is really good, right? You have a button, and if you time it properly, right, if you use it in situations where your opponent has to wake up into it and is forced to block it, you have a button that says, hey, have fun being +8 for free, right? And then you're free to do whatever you want. So experimenting more with your Oki options. There's like another Oki situation where you do the full down forward 4 string ender for your combo, but if you stop it down forward 4 1+2, you can then leave yourself open for some, shifting clouds mix-ups, right? Some Oki for shifting clouds. So that's another thing to consider. Talked about punishment system of content. I talked about combo / and Oki. Personal opinion stuff. Options that I think are nice, but obviously your mileage may vary, right? Stuff to consider is just kind of like a lot more poking tools. More down forward 1, more down 2, etc., 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 right? More single jabs, right? More 1-2, right? And then combining those with sidestepping, with other movement options, to kind of always make your opponent constantly guess what the next attack is going to come from. If the only attacks that he has to worry about are forward 3-4 and down back 3, then yeah, the Bryan's going to be very comfortable blocking. But if he has to constantly be on the lookout for sidestep moves, for back turn situation, and respecting back turns, stuff like that, there's just a lot of situations where you can rack up a lot of easy chip damage from just a flurry of pokes, and the opponent is just constantly unsure when to take their turn or when to try and challenge you, right? Feng's greatest strength is utilizing a combination of his tools in order to make the opponent second guess themselves, and you need to start doing that. You down forward 1 is a free button, right? It's a free button to press. Bryan's a sluggish character. It's not like he's got some crazy pokes from 11 to 14 frames, right? He's got jabs, and he's got sometimes down forward 1. I don't even know if down forward 1's a poke. Bryan's down forward 1, I mean. So you have a lot more freedom to experiment with tools and stuff, right? You got down 2, you got your own down forward one, etc., etc., etc. So a lot more of that. Other tools I like, but your mileage may vary. I like side step 2 a lot. Just press it. Who cares? Right? Obviously, the Bryan's like ducking every single time he stops pressing a button. Then yeah, maybe not. Then you start doing side step 1+2. But the reason I'm such a big fan of sidestep moves is because Feng's mix-up from sidestep is really strong, right? Sidestep 4 and sidestep 1+2 is an unseeable 50-50, right? And you need to be able to utilize that and soften up the opponent. Because again, if you never sidestep throughout the match and then you do sidestep 4 one time in the round, maybe the opponent's asleep at the wheel, but then other times they're just going to block low because like, oh, this is the first time he's ever sidestepped. Fuck it. Just block low, and then you just get a stagger block for you get stagger blocks for no reason. Right? So utilizing these tools earlier on throughout the round in order to soften up your opponent as the round progresses, so they're not just having a very easy lax time just blocking. Down forward 4 is a really solid poke, right? It's just a free mid you get to press. Just keep your opponent in check. See what they like to do after. A lot of Feng stuff requires no commitment on his end, right? I don't know, are you in the Bryan Discord the Peter Y Mad Discord, right? If you know Peter, just check out his video about 1-2, right? He's mainly talking about Bryan, where he talks about optimizing Bryan's 1-2 string, but the concepts in there apply to every character with a 1-2, right? 1-2 is a jailing high non-committal, like very little commitment string that typically leaves you a -1 to -2. Right? And you get to move around, right? All of these options, abusing all these options that are, I'm going to press a button, see what the opponent does, and move on with my life. And then, what do they do, right? Do they press a button? Do they wait to press a button? Do they backdash? Do they duck? Etc., etc., etc. All of these are ways, all of this is information you can use to utilize and shape your offense. So that's something you need to be doing. Other tools that I think are neat. Down forward 3. Forward 2 I like a lot as well. Just kind of like just press it. If they're ducking, you get a knockdown into Oki and stuff. If they're not, you're safe, right? And then instant wall standing 1. Practice that, right? Instant wall standing 1 is a free get in for free tool. Stupid fast, stupid long range, very minimal risk on your end. You can easily disrupt your opponent and start setting up stuff, right? And start utilizing kind of like again, does it get blocked? Start moving around and seeing what your opponent likes to do. Backdash, create whiff opportunities, and then punish accordingly. Does it hit? Utilize the frame advantage to the best of your ability, right? Stuff like that. Etc., etc., etc. Oh fuck, this video is already way too long. Anyway, I've talked about everything that I wanted to, got it off my chest, and that's pretty much it. At any point, right, if somehow you made it through the end of this video and you're still watching, if I sound like I'm trying to chastise you or some shit like that, I'm not. I'm really just, here's my first impressions. I'm not saying that you deserve to stop playing Tekken for anything that I highlighted here. I'm simply saying, hey man, you're doing X, but I think you could be doing Y, Z, alpha, A, B, C, whatever, and achieve similar, if not better, results, or combine the options, right? All it is at the end of the day is food for thought, and if it helps, I'm happy, right? If you have any more questions, let me know. Feel free to ask. I'm pretty active on all the Discords and stuff. Yeah. Hope it helped, man. Take care.